cars, however, we have pro stock. And these cars, Don, few people appreciate, I think, how hard they are to drive.
Yes, they are. The driver is very busy in that car for that 7.5-second ride.
And you've got about 1,000 horsepower and a very short wheelbase, and nobody drives them better than Butch Leal, the California Flash, now out of Columbus, Ohio, the whole shot expert. Jerry Eckman, Ventura, California, he came right down to the wire, the Winston finals last year, in that battle of 4 to determine who was the Winston champion. Eckman relies on a whole lot of horsepower. Both of these are Pontiac automobiles, and don't be surprised if Leal isn't up the mark first. We'll be watching the reaction times.
Well, these two cars, Steve, are very evenly matched. A 738 for Eckman in the first round, and a 739 for Leal. But Eggman has lane choice, and he has put Leal in the lane that has been repaired. So we're fixing to find out if it makes any difference.
Right now, both drivers just staring at that yellow light on the Christmas tree. When it flashes, they are gone. Leal with a hole shot. Is it big enough? No, it isn't. Bill Orndorff, the car owner, says, boy, that was close. Eckman powers by at 738 to a losing 741. Both cars 186 miles per hour. And Don, you can clearly see Leal lead first in the white car.
Yes, I was very impressed with Leal's lead. I was also very impressed as he drove over the repaired part of the racetrack. The car never stumbled. It never did anything. What the difference was in this car race, Steve, was the fact that Eckman had more horsepower at the end of the track and just pulled a little bit more mile an hour. Not much, a very close race, but you know, close only counts in horseshoes.
And nuclear weapons. Jerry Eckman, by a couple of feet, goes to the final 4. All right, here is Rickie Smith, the STP Pontiac, and he has the dubious honor of racing the man inside this Dodge Daytona, where our camera is Darrell Alderman, the 1990 Winston Pro Stock champion from Lexington, Kentucky, the #1 qualifier here. He won at Pomona 2 weeks ago. He was the #1 qualifier there. Nobody has to tell Rickie Smith from King, North Carolina, the way to beat this man today is to drill his lights out on the starting line. But he's also a very good driver, so how do you do that?
Well, you have to squeeze that starting system right to the nth degree because this man runs good down course with that Mopar.
We see Alderman's right hand on the tallest shift lever. As soon as that car leaves the starting line, they'll try to yank second gear. Rickie Smith, over the far side, hopes to catch Alderman napping off the starting line. No, sir, Alderman is right on the tree. Rickie Smith over-anticipates the tree and fouls away this second round encounter. Darrell Alderman goes to the round of 4. With a 733 at 188 miles per hour, it doesn't matter what Rickie Smith ran because he left a red light, foul start. He's disqualified at the start.
Here we see it. Rickie Smith tried to squeeze the tree too tight. He knew he had to take a starting line advantage if he was going to beat Alderman, and he took his shot, but he lost. And Alderman drove on to a fine 733. Our next pair of pro stocks, Tony Christian and Don Beverly. Beverly has his hands full. Right now, Steve is with Darrell Alderman at the far end.
The weather a good deal hotter, the track a little greasier. Is it tricky for the Dodge?
Yes, it is. When the clouds are out, well, the little Dodge hooks up in low and second, and it's sunny today, and the air's not as good, and we're just not running those low 20s like we usually do.
733 ain't bad, and by the way, you're the only one that calls this the little Dodge.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I love that kickback attitude of that Darrell Alderman. But right now we got more pro stock action. We got Tony Christian in the far lane and Don Beverly in the near lane. This should be a very good race. Christian loves to beat these guys.
Oh, he just loves to be the giant killer. If he can't win the race, he wants to in some way determine who does win it. Don Beverly from Chester, Virginia, not only drag races, but also has a Busch Grand National stock car team driven by Jimmy Hensley. Tony Christian, Sarasota, Florida, was out of the sport for a little over a year. Came back at the Chief Nationals and thumped the entire field. He is quite a good driver. He's so big and so strong and so excited. I'm surprised sometimes he doesn't just rip the shifter right off the transmission somewhere down the middle of the racetrack. And it's no contest. Tony Christian all the way to 737, 186. Beverly, well, I don't know. Terrible reaction time. I mean, something obviously distracted him. A 751 at 185 miles per hour. He was 2/10 away from the green light.
Yeah, Steve, it was like they were in two different car races. But our next pair of pro stocks are Warren Johnson versus Larry Morgan. Now, if we look back in earlier qualifying, these cars are very closely matched. A 734 for Morgan and a 731 for Johnson. So that gives Johnson a slight performance edge. However, reaction time means everything. Let's go to Steve.
Tony, you're flying with a 737, and were you aware that a General Motors car has never won this race?
Well, you might see one. If we can get by the old Scud missile there, I'll tell you what, I might have a shot. I got to race Warren next round. I don't know it's anybody's race there.
Right. The Scud missile, by the way, is the Dodge of Darrell Alderman.
Very presumptuous of Tony Christian to feel that Larry Morgan is going down to defeat.
Yeah, I thought that. Larry Morgan wouldn't agree. He qualified 7th to beat Jerry Haas in round number 1. Warren Johnson qualified 2nd only to the Dodge in the number 2 spot, and he defeated Frank Iaconio in round number 1. A lot of people will tell you they think that Warren Johnson should have won the title last year. He had a few problems, prevented him from winning some races. Maybe he should have, and all of those problems were on the starting line, be they driver or mechanical. That's where they happen. Well, he's tremendous reliability. The engines they build themselves in the state of Georgia. He's up against Larry Morgan in that far lane, who Tony Christian says will be beaten. We'll see. Morgan's there. Dead even. Christian is right. Warren's son Kurt looks on, says, "That a boy, Dad." 7:33 to a 7:35 put Johnson in the round of 4.
Well, that's the best speed we've seen out of Pro Stock, 188.44. Tremendous. So that brings us to the pairings of the final 4 for Pro Stock. Warren Johnson versus Tony Christian. And Johnson has the lane choice. On the other side, Darrell Alderman versus Jerry Eckman. And Alderman has the lane choice. Steve?
I don't know how your confidence level is, but Tony Christian certainly had a lot of confidence in you. He had you the winner before you ever raced.
Well, Tony and I go back a long way as far as racing, and we really like to race each other because usually it's a really good, tight race.
And the General Motors car has something to prove here. This race has always been won by a Ford or a Dodge.
Well, we got one of them out of the way. There's only one more to go, isn't there?
They will divide their own forces, though, next round when Tony does indeed race Warren.